I stayed trapped and bounded in that version of me, and I did not like it at all. I told myself that I liked it. That at that time, that was the story I was telling myself, like, I like being this way, and I really didn't, you guys. I really didn't. But it was a story that I told myself, right? Peace and balance. What's up, y'all? Your girl Mystique Moon here. Hey, little stars, and welcome back to another episode of She Sound Off, where we heal your spirit, practice self-transformation, and learn to live in our highest consciousness and our highest version. And that is my new intro. I'm excited. I get excited when I realize my growth. When I have those moments of transparency that I have grown, it is really exciting. And I celebrate my small wins. I don't know about you, but I always celebrate my small wins. Even if it's just a wholesome feeling, a happy feeling inside of me, and I can laugh about it or celebrate it within myself. I love it. I love doing that, y'all. And I think it's important to do that. I think this journey can have so many different ups and downs, and sometimes we can be consumed with trying to get to that end result that we miss those small wins. And if you all know, those small wins are the ones that get us to that big whatever it is that we're trying to accomplish, and we can get lost along the way. And so that intro in this season means a lot to me. If you go back and you look at some of my old videos, you will see that from there to now, I have more of a confidence on the message that I'm delivering. I have a knowing about the words that I'm saying, the thoughts that I have, the teachings that I have. You know, in the very beginning, I was unsure. I was just stepping outside of my comfort zone, stepping out into these unknown waters, just stepping into my gift. And even that moment was a beautiful thing, because I'm like, I can't believe I'm doing this. But anyway, so as I'm growing, I'm learning, I'm unpacking all these different layers about who Mystique Moon is, or what She Sound Off is. I'm growing and learning I'm learning along the way. And to get to this point where I'm positive about where I'm going, it feels so damn good, you guys. And I really encourage you all to make sure that you celebrate your small wins along the way, because those are the important ones. You know, it's kind of like falling in love. You're excited about the wedding. The wedding is a big event that, like, all these little bitty things led up to this, but it's about the love that you found, those first moments, that first date, that first time that you realize that this is the person who you want to be with, or you know, when you decided to make that commitment, to make that jump, you know, little actions in between that led up to that big wedding. That be the thing, you know, those be the most important parts. Of course, you want to celebrate that big win, but the little wins, it's nothing like it. And so my intro is like, it's almost like my baby now. It's like my baby, because I found exactly what She Sound Off stand for. I found exactly what She Sound Off is giving to the world. I lead in love and consciousness, and I definitely want all of my messages to reflect that. You know, healing is a big part of my journey. I talk about healing almost every single episode, and I'm a motivator, you know, so self-transformation is extremely important to She Sound Off and what I represent. And I always want you to show up into the world as your best version, in your highest consciousness. And so, you know, that's what I stand for, and that's what I'm all about. And I'm so excited that you have taken this journey with me from the beginning up until this point. And I thank you so much. Gratitude for you, for listening, for watching, and for being a part of my growth. And I'm happy that I was able to be a part of your growth as well. Ring the bell, because this is a moment of growth. This is a moment of transformation. This is a moment of realization, actualization, all those things combined into one. And I'm excited for us. Now, Speaking of the growth along the way, I want to talk about telling a different story. So here is the story that I kept telling myself over and over. I was the drinker. I was the party girl. I would go out from my 20s all the way up to my early 30s. I was drinking and I was partying. That was me, right? I don't do drugs, never have. I'm scared of those things, right? But I was a drinker, and alcohol makes you do some crazy things. So I would get into these weird situations. And at the time, I didn't even have any regrets because I would do it. And then I would get in these situations and I would turn around and do it again. Like, as long as I made it out alive, I'm like, oh shoot, I'm good, you know, because I didn't have any respect for myself. I didn't have any respect for my circumstance. I just didn't. And I was living in a dark place at that time, a very dark place. Not just, you know, out in the outside world. I didn't know who I was. I strive so hard to be this phenomenal person, this phenomenal version of me, but there was something missing. There was something lacking along the way. And because of that, I stayed trapped and bounded in that version of me. And I did not like it at all. I told myself that I liked it. That at that time, that was the story I was telling myself. Like, I like being this way. And I really didn't, you guys. I really didn't. But it was a story that I told myself, right? And so as I'm learning to love myself, who is Mystique Moon now? Now I'm emerging. Now I'm coming into my own. Now I'm like this caterpillar that has been in this cocoon shell, and I'm emerging as a butterfly. So I'm beginning to heal. I'm beginning to go back and conquer my triggers now, right? But then there was a part of me that still felt stuck there. I'm like, well, if I'm healing, if I'm supposed to be growing and learning, how come I still feel embarrassed? How come I can't tell my story without feeling regrets? You know, I always felt those regrets every time I would tell these stories about my past and my drinking and stuff like that. It would always have an unsettling feeling within me. And what I didn't understand at the time was, yes, I was practicing healing. I was, you know, conquering those traumatic experiences. I was getting the lessons out of each and every one of those moments. I was learning and unveiling different parts of me as I'm in my journey of growth and healing. However, because I kept telling myself this story over and over and over, and not allowing the freedom to tell a new story of who I am now, I stayed stuck in those moments, in those times, and in that place subconsciously. It's okay for you to say, I am not that person anymore. You know, there's going to be haters and people around you to try to tell you or try to bring up all the old shit that you used to do to try to draw you back into that negative place. There's going to be opportunities or moments, maybe videos. I don't know what your life is like. I know what mine is like. But there are going to be those moments where we're taken back to those places, right? But as you tell yourself a different story in your head, you have to say, I am not that person anymore. I do not live in that place of sadness anymore. I do not live in that place of brokenness anymore. I have forgiven myself. The Most High always forgive me. And I have made I have an understanding and a love and a forgiveness of the people that's around me, the people who really love me and accept me for then and now version. So it's okay that I'm not that person anymore. We dwell in those moments because we keep telling ourselves the same story about who we are based off of those moments in our past, and that is not who we are in this version, in this season. And you have to be ready to move past that and tell yourself a different story. So that was my story then, right? Here's my story now. I am healthy. I am well. I am conscious. I can go out and I can have fun without a drop of alcohol, or I can go out and I can drink because I still like it. I still do it. I still like to sip. I'm mostly a wine sipper now, so I can sip on my wine and I can be conscious of what I'm doing. I can practice self-control in a healthy way to where I don't feel, do something where I'm regretting it. Now, when I come around people who constantly try to remind me of that person, it's not an embarrassing or a sadness that overwhelms me now, because I've specifically told myself that I am not that person anymore. Okay, that old version of me does not live in this new version, and in order for me to gracefully embrace this new version, I had to remove all of that excess weight that I was carrying on myself about that past person. Forgiveness was a huge part of it. I had to forgive myself first. Okay, I had to forgive myself before I can allow others to forgive me. And once I did that, I'm like, no, I don't do those things. No. And I can confidently say it. I can confidently look anybody, even people from my past, I can confidently look them in the eyes and yes, that was me back then. That was a version of me. That is no longer who I am. You will never see me in that version ever again. And I'm standing proud, my head held high, and I can say that with all the positivity, with all the self-confidence in the world to this day. That's the new story I tell myself. Okay? The growth has been so amazing for me that I will never go back to that place. That's the story that I tell myself in my head. So now when I think of it, it's no longer a disappointment. Now when I think about that version of me, it's no longer sadness. It's no longer depression. It's no longer regret sitting there. It's complete transformation. There's that however factor. That however, this is what I represent now. This is how I'm showing up into the world now. So no one can hold you to that standard anymore. And you do not allow no one to hold you to that standard anymore. You are your biggest influence. And if you can't tell yourself that new story and believe it without any shadows of a doubt, with all knowing and all understanding and all love, then no one else will. And you can't convince anybody of that. It has to be something that really does within you. And where it starts is you telling yourself who you are in this season. Telling what is my story now? Can I tell moments where I've evolved? Moments where I would have been this way, but I've chosen a different way? Those are the stories that we have to tell ourselves in our head. And it'll help bring that growth. It'll help bring that understanding that you have emerged. You are here now. And that's what really matters. You're here and your now matters. Though that past version of you was just for growth. You're no longer there. You can't even go back. You can't even live there because you can't go back. It's all mental. So while you're dwelling in it mentally, physically, you're here. And you have the opportunity to change that part of you. So I really encourage you to start telling yourself subconsciously a different story. I am not that person anymore. I am not that person. I don't make those decisions. I don't do those things. And I don't care where you're coming from, where you are currently, or what you've done. You can always tell yourself a different story. You can always emerge. Don't ever allow anyone to try to convince you that you cannot change or you cannot evolve into the best version of you, into the highest version of you and your highest consciousness. Don't ever allow anyone to try to manipulate you and tell you that, because they will. There are people that enjoy you in that place. There are people that enjoy you most when you're in your darkness. And those are the people that will 100% fall off as you transform. You can trust me on that one. There's a lifestyle that you'll partake in when you've told yourself a different story. You'll allow yourself to live, to breathe, to exist in happiness, in prosperity, in abundance. After you begin to tell yourself, I am this person. So I am Mystique Moon. I live in my truth. I walk in my consciousness. I love. My love language is love. I love where I am. I love the decisions that I make. I love what I do for a living. I'm proud of who I am. I'm proud of who I become, and I'm proud of where I've been. Right? That's the story that I tell myself now. And to stand strong in that with your foot planted on the ground and on solid ground, unmovable, unshakable. it just brings me excitement to even talk about it, because once you've gotten to that place where you have an assurance about who you are, where you walk and talk and move and grow and operate in that divineness, no one can tell you shit. All right. So you guys, thank you all for coming back to She Sound Off. Thank you all for listening. If this have moved you in any way, make sure you leave a comment below, or how about you just tell yourself a different story? Okay. I love you guys so much. Remember that self-preservation is the first law of nature. Love yourself. Oh, I almost forgot. Make sure you guys subscribe to She Sound Off. You always forget that part. But self-preservation is the first law of nature. Love yourself before you love anything and anybody else in this world. And remember, you are divinely protected. So it's okay to lead with your heart, and everything else will soon follow.